The back parlor was the room where a life-changing event took place in the life of Abraham Lincoln. He was standing right back here on May 19th of 1860 when he found out that he was going to be the Republican Party candidate to run for the presidency. Back in those days, he couldn't show up at the nominating convention, but the best part was he couldn't even go out on the campaign trail and campaign for himself. All that was against protocol. Don't know about you folks here, but I wish those days were still here. I'm already sick of this presidential campaign. It's not even halfway over yet.
I would like to see a lot of the characteristics personally that some of these other people had, the Jeffersons and the Washington and Adams. I would like to see that. I don't much, but I don't think that's going to be a choice that we're going to have. We're going to be left with the candidates that we have, and I don't think any of them possess that kind of mind thought.
We'd like to think that Lincoln was a great man. He had his faults, though. He was forgetful. He wouldn't necessarily pay attention to the time, so he'd come home late for dinner, and that would upset Mary. There's a story of him going down the street with the two youngest boys in a wagon behind him, and one of the boys fell out, and he was a block away before he realized it. He wouldn't necessarily be completely tuned into what was going on around him all the time. He could be melancholy and cranky.
The size of this kitchen here, it's very small, but this room is almost the exact same size as that log cabin that Abraham Lincoln was born in down in Kentucky. And folks, fortunately for us, his dreams were not as small as that log cabin was.
If Lincoln and people like John Adams and George Washington saw what was going on in our government today, they'd be rolling over in their graves. I think they'd be very unhappy. They sacrificed all kinds of things to make our government wonderful, and I'm not so sure that it's being maintained that way.
I think with any kind of hero worship, you expect him to be perfect, and to find any kind of flaw is disconcerting. It's maybe, there is something to having our leaders be greater than ourselves, that's why they're good leaders.